All right, the draft is approaching. The combine is less than a week away, and we start SNL with some breaking news. Will Anderson and Joe Mixon, they win their appeals. So $25,000 for saying that the Chiefs got all the calls. Allegedly, the Mixon thing was interesting. That has been wiped away. Diana Rossini with the news. So they both win their appeals. And I got to say, Will Anderson getting fined $25,000 would not have been on my play sheet. Joe Mixon, maybe, but neither one of them going to be fined. Neither one of them going to be fined for criticizing the officiating after the Chiefs game.
The Mixon one was weirder because he initially got fined for something that he didn't say. And then they were like, oh, we're sorry about that. We're going to take that one back. They were going to fine you for what you actually said. And he was like, all right, now this is getting ridiculous. And so then he ultimately fights and gets his money back. I didn't feel like either of them rose to the previous fines for criticizing officials. So I'm in line with this. And hey, $25K is nothing to sneeze about. Probably a little bit easier for Joe's wallet to handle than Anderson's. But $25K, nothing to sneeze about. So I understand why they fought back on this. I am always interested about like the details of this. So did like the NFL dock that 25 off the last paycheck and they just been holding on to it? Is it something that was like on their tab that they had to eventually pay like a parking ticket? I'm always fascinated by like the ins and outs and the details of how something like that happens. But again, it didn't feel like either of those rose to need to lose money for how they talked about the officials.
No, it was what it was. It is not going to be the case. Today we're going to do a mock draft, and our mock drafts, we're not just going to lay out mock drafts and say, hey, this is our mock draft, blah, blah, blah. We're going to approach each one. We're going to discuss with you the strategy, and we're going to approach round one or perhaps the entire draft with that strategy. Today, it's going to be a position that we've talked about a lot lately, the tight end position.
Yep.
And we know how Nick Caley feels about tight ends. We know the Texans probably need to perform better at that position.
I like tight ends.
We know there's a lot of options, and there's two guys that are getting a lot of attention in Tyler Warren out of Penn State and Colston Loveland out of Michigan. So that's how we're going to approach the mock draft today. Is we are going to get Nick Caley his tight end.
Yes. And so I think it's a fun way to approach a mock draft with sort of a goal or maybe a rule for how you operate, because then it really kind of puts into perspective if you really want a guy, like if you feel like this guy is one of the best players available. And just to kind of give you just a reference point, Tyler Warren is number 5 on Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. And Colston Loveland is number 7 on Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 on NFL.com. So both those guys are highly thought of. Now, obviously, not everybody's going to value a tight end that high, but Landry and I, acting as D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio, we do value a tight end really high. So that's what we're going to try to get.
The other thing is, I think, and I think this kind of speaks to what they did last year, the Texans, they were able to attack some premium positions to where the positional value that I always kind of roll my eyes at, where a lot of people are overly aggressive in the first round, the Texans aren't really in the market, at least not like the top of the board needs market of a lot of those positions. They got a young tackle last year. They have young corners, wide receiver. Obviously, they're in that. But as far as like some of the premium positions, the Texans aren't in that market. So you're going to be open to tight end. And the other thing is a tight end, it kind of helps two things that you need in a perfect world. It helps your offensive line, although Loveland is not like known as the best blocker. And it also helps your receivers. And I think both of these guys can help that. So it's almost like a mix of both things where you can figure out something, assuming that you can get one of these guys, assuming that they're going to be on the board when we make this selection, when we go through this exercise.
And obviously free agency happens before the NFL draft. So like in this scenario, I would assume that they've made some sort of offensive lineman investment in free agency and haven't made some sort of tight end investment in free agency. So kind of laid out the lay of the land here for you as we get ready for this mock draft.
Yeah, and I think the free agency is going to be interesting because I think they will be in the market for a receiver. I did a video today on Keenan Allen, who I think is kind of fascinating. Kind of threw him in the mix with some of these guys that we're speaking of. I don't know where Keenan Allen would fall, but I think between Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, and Keenan Allen, I think those are three guys that are at least being discussed, and three guys that don't prevent you from perhaps drafting a wide receiver and signing other wide receivers because wide receiver is such a big need. The Keenan Allen thing is interesting because he said he only wants to play in LA or Chicago. Now, the Texans were interested in Keenan Allen. They tried to acquire Keenan Allen last year before Stefon Diggs. He did say all that, and I don't know if this is a factor. He said all that before like all the stuff happened in LA in January. So I don't know if it seems like people are leaving LA a little bit more now. I don't know if that matters or not. But he also does have 4 kids, and he and his wife met in California in 2010. And they stayed in LA when he went to Chicago. So you got to take him at his word. He's also made over $100 million playing football. Yep. So money's not going to be something that's going to drive him. But from the other standpoint, it takes 2 to tango. And I think this is another element with the Keenan Allen thing. Chicago's pretty young at receiver. They got DJ Moore and they got Rama Dunze. Don't know if they're going to want him or not. Don't know if he's going to want to go there. The Chargers, while he has chemistry with Justin Herbert, they might want to go younger at the position. They traded him in the first place.
Well, they got their slot guy already.
Yeah, and the guy that does the work in the slot. Maybe you can find ways to use Keenan Allen, but he had one of the best rookie seasons for a slot receiver that we've seen in recent years. I said, because the guy who had the best, he's in Los Angeles as well. He does work in the slot, and they also drafted a young slot receiver last year in LA. So it's an interesting possibility. It's interesting because we don't know if they like Deebo Samuel. We don't know if they like Cooper Kupp. They weren't on the market last year. Keenan Allen was, and we know they like him. And while he has specifics of what he wants to do, whether or not those specifics have changed and whether or not he fits into what the Texans do is something to definitely keep an eye on.
So what you're telling me is if we can't get our tight end in the first round, your backup is a wide receiver. That's kind of what you're telling me.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have a wide receiver draft for sure in this process. I just think that there's going to be some addressing, and I think free agency, there will be people saying probably that why not take a receiver? Why not take a receiver? I'm saying all this to say they're going to add receiver or receivers on their roster before the draft. I don't necessarily see them adding a tight end.
Correct.
And I could see them doing both when it comes to receivers, but there will be different guys added to your roster at the wide receiver position before the draft. I think that's safe to say.
I agree. I don't anticipate that being much of a note from tight end, but I'm with you on the wide receiver aspect of it.
Now, Mario asks a good question. Does Loveland get past the Chargers and Harbaugh? I think that is something that we're going to see as you see in this simulation. We don't know.
Here's the beauty of the mock draft machine. They allow trades. If we want to get a little frisky and go get our tight ends because we got to move up a couple spots, they allow trades.
Cody likes to get frisky and get tight ends. So there you go. You're learning something new every day. So
me and Nick Cayley.
You and Nick Cayley. All right.
You ready for this?
Let's start the exercise.
Okay.
We will enter the draft and we will see what is available to the Texans at 25.
We don't want to trade up to 1, right?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right. So this doesn't go super fast, but it does move pretty quickly.
Okay, Cam Ward.
All right, Mason Graham to the Jaguars, pretty impressive player. There goes our first tight end. So Tyler Warren with Bryce Young out there in Carolina. So there was our top tight end target off the board and one of my favorite wide receiver targets off the board. So the draft continues here. See how this shakes out. See if we can get a tight end. Oh, look, the Falcons finally got an edge rusher. All right, so there goes one of our favorite receivers here. He's off the
Ibuka,
board.
gone.
Ibuka to Tampa, which would probably be the end of Chris Godwin. Now, the Texans are at 25. The Steelers at 21. I can't imagine they need a tight end. They got Freiermuth.
But if you want to trade up, you're going to have to probably trade over the Chargers because we all know that Jim Harbaugh has that Colston Loveland connection.
Now, you've only got 6 draft picks in this draft. I'm not in huge favor of trading up. This wouldn't be the most costly trade up, but it probably kicks you out of the 3rd round. Probably costs you your 3rd to get a. I say we risk it. I say we just let it fall.
He's going to the Chargers, though. We know this, right?
I mean, let's see has another running back come off the board yet? Yeah, so Genty's our only running back off the board. I mean, they could really use a running back out there in LA. They could also use maybe an interior offensive lineman.
Just roll it because I think this is a good simulation of the reality of hoping to get a tight end because I think this simulation plays out. A lot of times there's a prospect and you say, okay, he's going there. That is what the feeling is with the Chargers. You have an opportunity to hop up. We might have to adjust on the go here. Let's see how this plays out.
Okay. Shadur Sanders. Oh, there goes the running back. Landry, we did it. We didn't have to use any assets. The running back went to the Chargers. Shadur Sanders in Pittsburgh is hilarious. And now the Texans, we can go and get that tight end that we want. Colston Loveland, the number 7 player on Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. Tight end out of Michigan. We're running the card up there.
There we go. So Nick Caley gets his tight end, and there is some very intriguing skill position options in the 2nd round. We turn in the pick.
Let's do it. Let's see how things start to shake out. Gray Zabel, Mimbu from Missouri goes. Darius Alexander.
Bunch of linemen and edge guys, which you have no need for.
Okay, hold on. This is just disgusting here. Philadelphia getting another corner. He's one of the best corners in the draft towards ACL last year. Siobhan Revel from East Carolina. And that's nasty for Philly. Let's see what the Titans do. Okay, they get an edge rusher. Fine. A couple of wide receivers started to come off the board here. Interior defensive lineman came off the board. What are you kind of hoping for here?
I'm hoping that there's a wide receiver. I'm also open to a running back here because we're trying to improve the offense. There goes Alfred Collins. Watts would have been considered there. There's 2 safeties that I would consider in the first 2 rounds. I don't think Malachi has a chance in hell of going down to 25. But Watts is another guy that I think if you could pair him with Bullock, you could perhaps have the best young corner duo in the league and the best safety duo in the league. But that is not a possibility. So we move on to our pick. We are officially on the board.
Okay. So I know our goals offense. So there's a couple of running backs right here. Sampson was awesome in the SEC last year for Tennessee. Iowa's Caleb Johnson was really good last year. Jaden Higgins is a lot of people like Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. Donovan Jackson gets a lot of love amongst the big guy community for an offensive lineman. There's Travion Henderson. We saw him be fantastic at The Ohio State this past year.
Thank you, Cam. Okay, there's Judkins. Okay.
His partner in crime, Quinshawn Judkins. What are you feeling here? There's really not. Okay. The big fella here from Arizona, Savanaia, which I think is how you say his name. He can play tackle. He can play guard. I know you hate the versatility comment. I think he's probably better suited as a guard, but he's a really nice player. Seen him go in the 1st round in some other people's mock drafts.
All right, here's what I'm thinking here.
Okay.
If we're having the draft discussion, I either want to trade back or I want to take the tackle out of Ohio State, and I want to put together 2 young tackles in Fisher and him that can potentially be your tackles of the future, to where you're not paying all that money for Laramie Tunsil. So I'm making another chess move at tackle.
Our offers, the Buccaneers one, we'd have to move back so far. We'd have to move back basically to the third round pick. The Giants offering 65, which is the top part of round 3, if we want to do a trade back here.
All right, let's trade. And all right, and what else do we get?
So we could ask for, say,
103. Let's ask for 65.
65 and 103.
65, 103, and 220.
Oh, we want to get 220 as well? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. See, offer the trade. See what they want. See how desperate they are.
All right, they said yes.
Let's go.
All right, so they're going to make some decisions for us. We added a nice pick here, added to that 4th round haul that we have. Still might get one of our. There goes our tackle. There goes one of our. There goes our tackle and 2 running backs.
Okay, well, now this is looking a little bit different.
All right, still got Travion Henderson available to us.
Okay,
for a running back. Wouldn't touch either of these tackles with a 10-foot pole. Still got Quinshon Judkins available to us. There's still a lot of running backs in this draft. If we want to get,
let's take the back. Let's take the back.
You want the running back?
Yeah, let's take the back. This is one of maybe a handful of potential workhorse type of guys.
Travion.
Let's get the back.
Okay, Travion Henderson's going to be our pick here at 65. Okay, so I like where we're at so far. Now we can kind of get specialized with some of these other picks. Maybe a guy that's more of a certain type of player, like as a defensive lineman who's more of a run stopper, something like that. With some good players flying off the board. There goes another tight end. We already got one tight end, so we don't need to worry about tight ends. Oh, Trey Harris would have been fun.
Why is Dylan Gabriel the 76th ranked prospect?
Good question that I don't know the answer to.
What is going on there? All right, so you got Jason Taylor's son, tight end. No, thank you.
Yeah, already got a tight end.
Let's see what we can get at corner or safety. Let's look at the DBs.
Let's look at the DBs. Okay.
Although we're focusing on offense.
Well,
we might need to look at the wide receivers here too.
Okay, well let's just sort it by wide receiver, safety, and cornerback. Okay, you know more about Makuba than I do.
Very good player. Might be a little early here though.
Here's what I would tell you.
All conference at Clemson, and then came in and did a very good job last year. A lot of things he can do. So Nick Amanawari is a really highly touted player. He's like, to some draft people, he's Derwin James light. He's not as flexible and athletic as Derwin James, but he can make a lot of those plays. Ton of pick sixes in his career. Can come up and help you with the run. Could help you at the nickel spot. Could even be like a blitzing linebacker in certain. All right, then let's do that. Let's put together our best young safety duo. This was the exact area where they got Kalen Bullock last year.
Yep.
Let's remix it. Much like we were open to the Blake Fisher remix in round 2. That didn't work out because of the trade back. Let's remix it. We've got we're still a little thin at receiver. It just doesn't call for it yet. I like Tez Johnson, just not as much as I like the possibility of having an elite young safety duo with those corners. So it's kind of fallen this way. We know D'Amico Ryans likes SEC guys. We know they could use a complimentary player for Bullock. Let's go ahead and turn in the pick and take the kid out of South Carolina.
Amanawari is it would be very shocking to see him available here. He's like a top 30, top 40 guy on most people's big boards, but we get super lucky and snag him here in the 3rd round.
So let's look at what we got right now. Guys are flying off the board.
Okay, what we have right now is 25th overall. We got Colston Loveland. That was our target. That was our don't leave this draft without a tight end. Boom, got it. Then we traded back in the second round at the top of the third. Got Travion Henderson. There's our, hey, learn from Joe Mixon. Help him out when he needs a breather. And then we got a playmaker at safety.
Yep. Like where we're at right now. Now, wide receiver.
We could really use a wide receiver.
Could use a wide receiver. Don't know how that's going to look.
Use a wide receiver. Maybe, well, geez, here's another one of our safeties still available.
These quarterbacks are crazy ranked. Scroll through the running backs real quick.
Through the running backs?
Yeah.
We're going to double dip.
Not double dipping yet. I just want to see. Keep going down. Keep going down.
Rashad Smith at SMU would be fun. Jarquez Hunter. Trevor Etienne's the best receiving back, I feel like.
Keep going down.
You looking for your guy Blue?
Did they even have Blue ranked, or did he go early?
Good question. I do not know.
Search all players.
Oh, they may not have him in there yet.
Wow. This would be the range with the luxury pick, though, where
you've made a little moving around. You get you another running back.
A guy who can be a slot receiver, a guy who can be a running back would be someone to keep an eye on. Jaden Blue, maybe they haven't figured that out yet. They'll probably update that after the combine. Go up.
Okay.
I know it's not like a luxury need, but go down. There you go. So Soro out of Texas. Just a very solid player. He can be one of those rotational guys. He does everything well. There's not like any super freakish athleticism to him. But he was just always there. He's one of those guys that I think D'Amico could get the best of. He's one of those guys who wouldn't be expected to play immediately, but he could play quite often. I know Jeff Kavanaugh over there at All City likes him. I would not be opposed to that pick here. You add it's more so proactive. You're going to lose some guys, some rotational edge guys. I think they could do some magic with this kid.
Well, here's the thing. When you look at your top three defensive ends at the end of this upcoming season, only Will Anderson remains because Danico Autry is going to be done, and then Danielle Hunter's contract is going to be over. So if he could go from, say, the fourth, fifth defensive end to the third or second defensive end next year after this 2025 season, I like it. Impressive career at Texas, impressive career this past season, the SEC. I'm down for it. There's nobody else that I'm really, ready to go to bat for here in this area. Jalen Knoll is nice, but again, nobody I'm really ready to just go to bat for.
Yeah, so I would make that pick. You would tackle would be nice, but there's just not anything jumping out. We were open to the tackle, it just didn't fall that way. The tackle that you took this year was Blake Fisher, the interior offensive line. There's maybe some options there if you want to go with the guard. It's
a lot of. I'd wait for someone like Monaheim to be available later. Willie Lampkin Lampkin's shorter than I am, and he was just crushing cats at the Senior Bowl. But I like.
Let's hope that Willie's there with our next pick, and let's take the let's play the chess like the Texans do, where they don't go for the immediate needs, and let's just hope that Willie's there with our next pick.
All right, we only have to wait a few minutes here. Caldwell from Oregon would have been an interesting one. RJ Harvey goes. He's, we already have a running back. Harvey's a little bit smaller, but he's pretty dynamic.
There's no chance Will Howard goes fourth round.
You never know what that. There goes Willie.
There you go. There goes Willie. Willie gone.
That's fine. We're fine. We're fine. Okay. He should still be out there, but Jalen Milroe and Riley Leonard Riley Leonard's position's wrong. He should be a tight end. I'll make my plea right here, just right off the bat, for Jack Kaiser.
Okay.
College football's leading solo tackler last year. Really good in coverage at the Senior Bowl. The mentality, just like between the ears, is good. The Texans would fall in love with this guy. I mean, they'd have a field day. He'd be a guy that could work into Aziz's role eventually.
Well, yeah, if he can cover, he's already got a big advantage.
We already grabbed an edge guy. Man. We already grabbed the tight end, but Urasek would be interesting.
I like Urasek late, man. I like Urasek.
A little double tight end.
So there's no guard. I go ahead and take the backer. Give D'Amico his backer.
So we've got a tight end, a halfback, running back, excuse me, a safety and an edge player, and then we're gonna go back to
Backer.
Back to defense here again. Man,
Unless we want to look at the wide receivers and see if there's anything that sticks out there.
All right, let's look at the wide receivers, because I think I could sell you on one of these guys. So I like Pat Bryant and I like Kyle Williams. Both were really productive at the Senior Bowl. There's nothing like Pat Bryant's not the best at anything, but he's good at a lot of different things.
Well, Brett Bielema, playing for Brett Bielema will do that for you. So, I mean, you get the opportunities.
Kyle Williams, he told me at the Senior Bowl, he said, if you put me in the wide receiver room with Nico Collins, it's going to be electric.
Okay.
And I said, okay. I said, all right. And then he went out there and he diced up some dudes at the Senior Bowl.
Let's give him a chance then.
Okay. Kyle Williams.
I'm one
Washington
over. Let's
State.
go. Let's go, Kyle Williams.
Kyle Williams from Washington State. We got one more pick here in this thing. Going to be some guys fly off the board here. Goes Kaiser to Buffalo. Okay. Oh, Miami with another running back. They love their running backs.
And obviously, like if there were a good O-line opportunity, then you would obviously be open to it. Sometimes the draft, I mean, we came in. This is the mock draft with the approach that we wanted the tight end. Traded back. We're open to the tackle. Didn't happen. Sometimes, like last year, we didn't go in the draft saying the Texans need a tackle. They took a tackle. The interior O-line, maybe that's something they address in free agency. Who knows? This is kind of where they're at now.
Okay. Did you are you laughing at Stuntsman?
Yes.
you're not a
I could just see Caserio liking that guy.
Monahan, probably one of the better centers at the Senior Bowl. I know John Harris loves Monahan.
Are we in the center business?
Well, maybe if Juice is going to be a guard.
Well, Caserio says he's better at center.
Okay, well, we'll keep looking here. Keep looking. Emory Jones at LSU, little tackle, little guard, flexibility there. Let's see if there's a corner available.
Corner stuff, man.
You just need a nickel. Gonna be honest with you, don't know who any of these guys are.
I'm good at corner.
Hadn't made it that far down the list yet.
I'm good at corner. The combine will open our eyes to a lot of possibilities. No, thank you.
Okay, all right. You don't even want to hear the sales pitch?
No.
You don't want to hear the sales pitch on Monaguy?
No, go ahead.
Never fumbled. Super physical. Really good pass blocker. And probably could be a special teams guy. Could be Dare's position.
Okay.
He could be Dare's position. And then eventually work into running back 2 as Travion Henderson moves up post Joe Mixon. Monaguy could be your second guy. But let's keep looking just in case. I could probably take another swing at a wide receiver if there was a guy we liked. Boy, some of these, I mean, Ollie Gordon, 2023 was one of the best running back seasons we've seen, and then try to explain 2024 to somebody.
Crazy. Jake Majors is a good culture guy too. That's a little bit later though. I mean, and that's a center. I mean, that's like Jared Patterson type.
If we're going center, let's get the USC kid.
All right. Well, let's.
Here we go. I got it. I got our guy. Junior Tafuna. Okay. Interior defensive lineman, mean as hell. Probably doesn't have a ton of pass rush upside in the NFL, but guys just don't move him. He's not a huge human, but he eats up space. I like Tafuna.
Let's take it. Let's take it.
All right. So I set us for only 5 rounds because I figured we didn't need to get that deep into things. So that's our draft. Let's see what the Pro Football Focus draft machine has for us here. Grading your draft. Okay, they didn't like our Colston Loveland pick. They thought we should have taken Shamar Stewart.
Okay.
Sure. So, okay, C- on Colston Loveland. Get out of here. Get out of here, Pro Football Focus.
Okay. Dang, we got not great grades here.
We're getting crushed. They hate our draft. I love our draft.
I don't hate it. The goal was to get the tight end. You got the running back depth. Maybe who knows what you did at safety. I know Bullock wasn't high, but yeah, not a great draft. So
Emanawari's a steal this late. Seems highly unlikely. And then look, you got some upside guys here. I really like Tafuna this late. Really fun pick.
Obviously, the O-line and the wide receiver, you gotta figure out. The goal here was tight end, so we'll approach drafts different ways. This was just the first one with a tight end. People who would want a tight end, I think it kind of played out where you kind of wondered, are you at the mercy of Michigan? Can you trade above Michigan? Will the Texans even want a tight end? Who knows? And then you have the wide receiver is going to be something that you really, really, really need, and you need to figure out. So
I think there's some really bad draft graders in the chat right now. Really bad. Really bad.
That's not too bad. I think last year their grade, the Texans, what was their grade after the day? I think it was like a C.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had like a C- or something like that at PFF, and they ended up having the top safety, the top corner, and a guy who they hope is going to be a starting tackle in Fisher. So you never know. You never know how it's going to play out and how it's going to look. Also, this is very early in the process. The combine is going to increase the preparation. We are still
hold on
2 months away from the draft.
Again, for everybody that got in maybe late, the scenario was that they had added a free agent offensive lineman. So
it's just the way it played out with the offensive line.
Yeah,
it's the way it played out.
Yeah, we got some smart people in the chat though. Wes, he loves the draft.
Well, maybe we got some dumb people running the draft. You never know. Draft makes fools of all of us. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that looks. It will also be a lot easier to perform once free agency concludes. It's really hard to do a mock draft before free agency because you don't know what the team is going to look like. Right now, you probably have 6 things that you need to address like somewhat aggressively. You can only address a few in a draft. It becomes kind of a crapshoot after day 2. So that's the other tough thing about mock drafts like this. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, and these rankings will drastically change out of the combine too, because draft people will get a better understanding of how the NFL thinks about some of these guys. They'll have workout freaks that guys will, wow on the workout field, and these rankings will change, and guys will fall and guys will move up. And look, Caserio and D'Amico Ryans feel like they'd be primed for some guy that has a bad workout, and then they're like, we don't care about the workout, we care about him as the football player. Boom, they snag that guy. Sure would be something to pay attention to.
Yeah, this one was the approach of getting one of the 2 best tight ends that ended up happening, and then the stuff after. Pretty similar reaction to last year's Texans draft. Who knows? Should be interesting. It is mock draft season. The combine is less than a week away. And we got a lot to get into. Joe Mixon, Will Anderson, they save $25,000. So no fines for them. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along, crush the draft process. The approach today was get one of the top tight ends. We'll attack wide receiver. These things will become much better as time goes on because we are just a few weeks away from free agency as well. And that will give a much more clear picture as well. For Cody Stoots, I'm Landry Locker. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.